The stories unfold in a fantasy place called the Continent, where human settlers have caused a stir. They've essentially taken the realm from the native dwellers, elves, dwarves, and gnomes. As you would expect, all is not well.
When humans and monsters arrive.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. The official trailer for The Witcher has dropped, and Netflix is hoping it picks up the slack Game of Thrones left behind. So, what do we know about the series so far? Join us as we delve into this strange new world and find out. Okay, so there's a reason why Netflix is supposedly touting the show as the next Game of Thrones. There is a huge hole in the market now that Jon Snow has bid farewell to our screens. Audiences have always loved a little bit of fantasy and witchery. There's a reason why Buffy the Vampire Slayer was one of the most popular shows of the 90s. It wasn't Sarah Michelle Gellar, but the premise. However, Game of Thrones brought about a new era for the genre. Suddenly, it wasn't just for a niche market, but for a much wider audience. The trailer for The Witcher definitely has that GOT vibe about it, but it's even darker. There are a lot of brooding shots of Henry Cavill, who we have to say looks incredible in a silver wig. An awful lot is going on in the 2-minute-long clip, so let's break it down. A voice gravelier than a stone walkway tells us that stories of witchers go back a long way. It might be a simple mention, but it lays some important groundwork, especially if you've never read the books. As it turns out, there are some elves thrown in there too, giving it a distinct Lord of the Rings tinge. When elves reached out to the humans and taught them magic, the humans turned on them. Why? Well, we don't know that yet. Judging what we know from different stories, it's probably just because the human race sucks. We're also introduced to a dark-haired girl and a blonde-haired girl. Both of them look like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. The best part? The epic battle scenes and the tagline, "The worst monsters are the ones we create." Ooh, whoever wrote that better get a big fat bonus. The whole point of trailers is to tease us, snipping out the best parts to reel us in. If Netflix knows how to do anything well, it's that. The Witcher looks bomb, but will it live up to it? Time can only tell. This is the million-dollar question. To make this a successful TV series, it has to stand on its own 2 feet. Sure, fans of the books and of the games will have some preconceptions, but it needs to appeal to everyone. As with most new series, little is known about what's going to go down. The official summary for Season 1 says, Geralt of Rivia, a solitary monster hunter, struggles to find his place in a world where people often prove more wicked than beasts. But when destiny hurtles him towards a powerful sorceress and a young princess with a dangerous secret, the three must learn to navigate the increasingly volatile continent together. From that, we can gather that there are 3 main characters: the princess, the sorceress, and our main man Geralt. It's unlikely that they'll all bond over a nice cup of tea and a plate of scones, so expect some conflict there. While the trailer looks strikingly similar to the games, the plot is supposedly sticking to the best-selling books. Let's just have a quick rundown of what the books are all about, just in case some of you don't know. The fantasy series, written by Andrzej Sapkowski, started in 1993 with The Last Wish. The last book in the saga was Season of Storms back in 2013. Readers of the genre lapped them up, and to date, 33 million copies have been sold worldwide. In other words, they're kind of a big deal. The stories unfold in a fantasy place called the Continent, where human settlers have caused a stir. They've essentially taken the realm from the native dwellers, the elves, dwarves, and gnomes. As you would expect, all is not well. The southern half of the land is ruled by the Nilfgaard Empire, which is always battling the northern kingdoms. Geralt is special because he's a witcher, aka someone that has superhuman hunting powers. He isn't just bringing home a nice deer for dinner, but rare and dangerous creatures that pose a big threat. Geralt is the main character in the books, finding himself at the center of all the action. His on-again, off-again girlfriend Yennefer and their daughter Ciri also have important parts to play. Now that we know more about it and we've seen the trailer, we naturally want to know when we can watch it. The word on the street is that The Witcher will drop sometime towards the end of 2019. We've still got a little ways to go, but these months will fly by. Judging by Netflix's approach to other releases, it's likely that we won't get an exact date until a few weeks beforehand. Considering it's a new series, things are moving along pretty swiftly. The production only started in October of 2018, so there's a lot of work still left to do though. The cast has wrapped their scenes, but there's CGI and post-production to finish, which can take a long time. We do know how many episodes there'll be, which is always a bonus. That way we can figure out just exactly how much binging time we'll need to set aside. Season 1 of the show will consist of 8 episodes of unannounced length. Usually when the episodes are few, the runtime is longer. If we had to make an educated guess, we'd estimate that each episode will be a solid 50 to 60 minutes long. Netflix is coming after GOT's fans, and we're used to that time frame, so it makes sense. Considering the amount of material that Netflix has to work with, 8 episodes could seem a little on the stingy side. According to IGN, the streaming service has a lot of plans for the show that could see it sticking around. There are already talks about multiple seasons which delve deeper into the story. However, as with any new venture, this will depend entirely on how well it is received. They could be happy with the production and everything, but if the audiences hate it, it's not going to make any money. A lot of people will know the Witcher story from the games. Just like the books, the games are hugely popular too, and given today's screen-savvy youth, it only makes sense. Although they continue the story of Geralt, the writer of the books had no input, so they're not canon. That doesn't bother a lot of people though. In some ways, you've got 3 separate fandoms to consider here. The ones who love the books, the ones who love the games, and the ones who love both. With that being said, Netflix has to make a big decision about what to base the series on. They could have gone down the game route, but that's catering to one specific market. Not only that, but game adaptations are notoriously difficult to pull off. Why? Because games tell the story differently. It's interspersed with gameplay, making it an entirely different experience. When Michael Fassbender tried to pull off Assassin's Creed, it was a total failure. It stunk the place up royally. Gamers were furious that such a beloved franchise was torn to pieces on the silver screen. Some people think that Netflix wanted to avoid the wrath of gamers entirely. Instead, they opted to create something that had a better chance of pleasing the majority of the fandom and based it on the books instead. Audiences are used to having one big bad to focus on. There's nothing quite like rooting for someone or someone to conquer an evil force. We've done it time and time again, especially in Netflix shows. However, according to show creator Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich, there isn't one main villain. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Hisrich explained a few key parts of the story. The family unit of Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer will be a focusing point. This only makes sense considering they're so pivotal in the books, but there's more to it. Hisrich said, if you take all the other fantasy elements away, you take the magic and story and violence away, you still have 3 characters who are this broken, disjointed family who really needs each other even though they don't want to admit it. What's more, the showrunner explained that the protagonists will be navigating moral dilemmas. According to Hisrich, the characters will develop and change drastically as the episodes move on. Ones that seem outright awful and despicable at first may receive empathy later on. Ones that seem perfectly good might also fall from our good graces. It's a fact that audiences love that sort of thing. Case in point, Jaime Lannister. It's intriguing to think about how this could all unfold. The series was created by Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich, who is pretty big in the entertainment business. Lauren has had some pretty impressive credentials. In the past, she's worked on Parenthood, The West Wing, and Daredevil, to name but a few. Writer Andrei Sapkowski is on board as a creative consultant, which is great news. Although he denied involvement initially, Sapkowski later confirmed it in a press release, saying, "I'm thrilled that Netflix will be doing an adaptation of my stories, staying true to the source material and the themes that I have spent over 30 years writing. I am excited about our efforts together, as well as the team assembled to shepherd these characters to life." Perhaps Netflix is taking a leaf out of GOT's book here, as George R.R. Martin was heavily involved with the show. There's nothing quite like having the person who came up with the idea around to make it ring true. As we've already touched upon, Henry Cavill plays Geralt. This is a welcome departure for the Superman actor, who frankly needed something else to focus on. Most people might assume that Cavill is just looking for a solid paycheck, but it turns out he's been a fan of The Witcher for quite some time. Speaking about the actor, Hisrich has said that Cavill has always been a huge fan. Not only has he read all the books, but he's played all the games too. There's nothing better than an actor that's invested in a role personally, so this could be solid gold. Aside from Cavill's star power, the series seems to be working with relatively unknown actors. Now this isn't a bad thing. Freya Allan plays Princess Ciri, Anya Chalotra as Yennefer, and Jodie May as Queen Calanthe. The absence of big names often works really well for new shows. There's no expectations, no typecasting, no stigma. It leaves a blank canvas. Landing a part on a series like this often kickstarts careers when it goes well too. Millie Bobby Brown was unknown before Stranger Things, and look where she is now. While America has its perks when it comes to impressive locations, there's nowhere quite like Europe. Those haunting landscapes, those epic mountain scenes, Hizrik announced via her Twitter that the show would be filming in Budapest, but that's just one location. Fans of the video games will likely be pleased as this can match some of the places they've already seen. Filming a show is no small process, so there are often multiple locations. Some become home for the show's entire run, while others are only used for certain storylines. No matter where they've gone with The Witcher, judging by the show's trailer, it's all going to look epic. As an interesting side note, Tomasz Baginski, cinematic director of the games, is on board to direct at least one episode. So, although the plot may be based on the fantasy saga, the aesthetic may be quite familiar to gamers. That's not a bad thing either. The games are edgy, beautiful, and incredibly well done. So what do you think? Could this be the next big thing? Sound off in the comments. Before you go, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the flip side.